Welcome to My Weekly Mixtape, a podcast that takes the classic mixtape approach to building a modern playlist. I'm your host, Brian Colburn. Joining me once again as guest curator is fellow Pantheon Podcast Network mate Jason Whissell, host of the It's Not That Bad and There Can Only Be One podcast. Jason, welcome back to the show.
I feel kind of guilty for taking over the airwaves on your show, but seeing how it's our Guilty Pleasures episode, I feel no guilt today. I'm going to have so much fun with this.
Same here. Like you said, we are talking guilty pleasures, but we're going to tie it to a decade, and we're going to tie it to the 1980s. And I just want to make one thing crystal clear to everybody listening before we get started. For me personally, and I don't know about you, Jason, I have never and will never feel guilt listening to a song that I truly enjoy. And I don't think any of the listeners of this show should ever feel guilt enjoying a song. However, breaking the fourth wall a little bit, the title of 80s Guilty Pleasures is something people immediately understand versus the original title I had, which was the ultimate songs a lot of people seem to hate, but you actually loved playlist.
Oh, I mean, when I was making my list, it was one of those things where I had to sit there and put myself into that headspace of when this came out. If I had the album, was I hiding the album from my friends at the time? Like right now, like it's 2024. I don't give a damn what anyone thinks about the music in my collection, because if we went through my CD book and started flipping through the pages, you sit there and go, oh, you have that? Oh, I remember when that was big. It's no longer, oh, you have that. Oh.
The stigma is gone. So, Jason, what approach did you take coming up with these songs? Because I have a specific one I know for this particular episode.
I had to put myself back into my 80s mindset, into the songs that I was listening to at the time. Album release date mattered. There was one song that the minute we started talking about this, I was like, oh, this has to go in. It has to go in. But it was on a 1979 album. And then I'm like, well, maybe there's that gray area where it's like, oh, maybe it was released in 1980 as a single. And no, it was released in 78 as a single. Then the album came out in 79. So I as much as I wanted to put Rock Lobster on my list, I could not put Rock Lobster by the B-52s on my list. But the way I take a look at it, a lot of these songs were either songs that I found myself putting on mixtapes for whatever mood I was in the 80s at the time, regardless of who was going to listen to it, or songs that if someone put a cover of that song out today, I would crank it and jam it because the song carries no matter what the genre would be.
Well, for me, like I said at the top of the episode, I never felt guilt, but I understand what you're talking about, because there were tapes where if I had buddies coming over, it wasn't so much guilt. It was, dare I use, fear, because kids are horrible sometimes growing up. But once I got to high school, I felt like the crew I hung out with were all music people and could care less as long as you enjoyed it. It was a lot more understanding going on when I was in high school that I know a lot of people didn't deal with. So what I did was I sought out articles based on the most hated songs of the 1980s as well as all time. And I found lists from the likes of Rolling Stone magazine, NPR, NME, Ranker, and 80s fan sites. And I just pulled from the songs that they hate and I love. So I kind of went with that approach.
Well, I think there's also the overplayed factor, because some of these songs are probably would also fit onto a list of novelty songs of the 80s as well. But they were overplayed, like to death, to the point of, you wonder how Taylor Swift fans or non-Taylor Swift fans feel now where everything is Taylor Swift. Think of some of these songs and how often they were played on the radio over and over and over again until it felt like Stockholm Syndrome that you liked it at that point and you finally just rebelled against it and switched the station. I'm curious how many times, because there's 20 songs on this mixtape, how many times are we going to say that a song is a bop?
Well, from my bank of songs, it'll be at least 10.
I've lost track of the number of times in my notes I have here that says it's a bop. It's still a bop. It could be
Still
a bop.
All right. Well, let's get down to business then and see what we've got going tonight. As I mentioned, Jason and I are curating an 80s quote-unquote guilty pleasures mixtape, and we'll use the old cassette deck approach. Jason, as my special guest, will begin side A with his first song choice, and then I'll add a song that I feel best follows up that choice. We'll then flip-flop choosing songs until we've mapped out 10 songs for side A. We'll then give our mixtape a proverbial flip, and we'll map out side B, only this time I'll kick things off with Jason choosing second. Our overall goal for this episode is to craft the best 80s guilty pleasures mixtape possible through only 20 songs. At the end of the show, you can take our conversation to the next level by visiting the episode page at myweeklymixtape.com to give our final mixtape a listen via the embedded playlist. And if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/myweeklymixtape. And several of the Patreon mixtapers chimed in with songs that they would use to kick off the festivities tonight, and I want to give a shout out to those. Chad Lamassa chimed in with Martika's Toy Soldiers, which not only do I totally agree with being a banger song, I'll just go on record and say it's one of my favorite songs of the 80s, hands down, hard stop. I love that tune, so great pick there. Seeker chimed in with Alice Cooper's Roses on White Lace from the Raise Your Fist and Yell album. That was the one that just before Trash. Or Age of Reason by John Farnham, who is an Aussie pop rock male vocalist. And he says Richard Marx comes to mind as a correlation to listeners here in the U.S. David Owens chimed in with the song that was number 1 on his birthday, Jay Giles Band's Centerfold. Love the track. Tom Hutchinson chimed in with Party All the Time by Eddie Murphy. I have to admit, and this one's a little embarrassing, I had a mixtape as a kid growing up, and I had the song listed as Stevie Wonder, Party All the Time. I thought it was Stevie Wonder. Oh well. Ben from the Too Vague podcast chimed in with Murray Head's One Night in Bangkok. And then Ben also followed up with another contender, I Know There's Something Going On by Frida, saying that Phil Collins' drumming is unmistakable. And last, but certainly not least, Philip chimed in with Brand New Lover by Dead or Alive, saying he doesn't stylistically like similar acts along the lines of Tears for Fears, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Thompson Twins, Simple Minds. However, Dead or Alive is so over the top, it's hard to not just let go and enjoy it. So right there, we've already got a ton of great songs on the table. Jason, I'm officially going to press the record button on our mixtape now and turn the mic over to you. What song are you choosing to kick off our Guilty Pleasures playlist?
Oh, there's a few on that list that are actually on my list as well. So, but I'm going to start with one that wasn't mentioned and one that would definitely fit in an 80s one-hit wonders cassette as well. I'm going to go with I Want Candy from Bow Wow Wow. Not only do you have a very cool, almost Caribbean-style tribal drumming going on in this, but that surf guitar lead. Like, honestly, if you don't have that little guitar lick in your head, even the lyrics alone, okay, the lyrics are a little annoying after a while, but that guitar literally is the lead vocalist to me in this song. And there are a few songs that came out in that era where the guitar may as well, if you had put it out as an instrumental, the guitar would basically be your singer. And I Want Candy, I don't care who you are, what decade it is, this song comes on, you're gonna dance. You're absolutely going to dance and enjoy yourself. So I'm going to go with the horribly named band Bow Wow Wow and go with I Want Candy.
Now, if they were called Bow Wow Wow Yippee Yo Yippee Yay, would you change your mind?
Only if you say it in a really lower voice, like Bow Wow Wow Yippee Yo Yippee Yay.
Honestly, you had mentioned almost a Caribbean feel. To me, I hear Bo Diddley through the 80s glasses with this song. That do 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 do. I hear a Bo Diddley song. So I love that growing up. To me, that was this blues rock only with this, and I'm using quote marks in the air, modern sheen of the 80s. Because when you're a kid, you knew that 80s sound meant like it's new music, not your parents' oldies station kind of stuff. And to me, this was a song that both my parents enjoyed and I enjoyed as well. So I love that tune. And I'm going to follow up with another one that certainly fell under the my parents loved it and so did I list. And this was one that makes pretty much every list of worst songs of all time. And I've honestly never understood why. Rolling Stone, I think, topped off their list with it. But 1985, Knee Deep in the Hoopla, which was an awesome name for an album. I'm just going right in, head first. Starships, We Built This City. I don't care that everyone ranks this song as the worst song of all time. I love it. It always puts a smile on my face. And hell, in 2011, the Muppets used the song in the Muppets movie. It was only called The Muppets, so I couldn't say the Muppet movie because that was 1979. But I digress. In the Muppets, it was used as a montage. And my daughter at the time fell in love with the song, so she always asked to play it. And it was one of those few, my kid likes a song and they're playing it over and over and over again, songs that never bothered me. And one other thing I loved about this song, and this is going to show my radio, how obsessed with radio I am as a kid. I actually have a cassette sitting right in front of me, one of my original mixtapes. It's called the Get Down Rock Party. I recorded stuff off the radio. And I made it in 1987 is where I figured it out, because what I did is I Googled a bunch of the songs that were on it, and it looks like it was right around early 87. And there's a version of We Built This City on it. However, at the beginning of the song, Z100, the New York affiliate radio station, added a jingle for the station into the actual song. So it made it tied to the New York City market, which to me, I thought was really cool. And I'm sure the network did it for all the stations across the country. But as far as I was concerned as a kid, there was that special version that you can only hear on the radio, which who uses that phrase ever now? So We Built the City. Let's get knee deep in the hoopla for track 2.
I think that song hits on some of those lists more because of where Jefferson Starship kind of came from. You know, people who are going to equate it to Jefferson Airplane sit there and probably have the same mindset when they listen to 80s Heart versus Barracuda era Heart, or keyboard era Rush versus 2112 era Rush. So I can see where that kind of falls into play, but it really was the song of the moment. Like, it was everywhere on TV and in movies. I mean, yes, when I think movies and Jefferson Starship, I instantly think of the Mannequin soundtrack and Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. But it really was. And one of the songs that would fit in almost every single possible avenue of media that you could think of, and overplayed. But I think I know where I'm going to follow up this, because I'm going to go with another song that has been used over and over and over again in TV shows and movies. I'm going to go with Timbuk 3's The Future's So Bright, I Gotta Wear Shades. Like,
okay.
Hey, it's a fun song, and I feel bad that it's going to get tied in with, you know, with the movie Dream a Little Dream, which, yeah, we've done an episode on that as well, so that episode exists. But I mean, this song is fun as hell, and along with the, I don't know if it's a real harmonica or a fake harmonica, but it definitely kind of carries that tune. And if this comes on the radio on a road trip, no matter how much you may have been tired of it from the number of times it's appeared in TV shows, you're going to sing along.
Could not agree more. So far, this is an 80s Guilty Pleasures playlist that could completely double as an 80s party mixtape.
Oh, absolutely.
To me, Timbuk 3 was one of those songs that, as time went on, people started reminiscing for it. Like, there became a long, because I know when people make 80s mixtapes now, this is kind of a staple. But at the time, it was an eye roll. And I think time served this song well. And following it up, I want to keep this upbeat kind of party vibe going. And I'm going to go with a song that NPR listed as one of its worst songs of the 80s. And I want to challenge this. And I want to go to 1988. And the reason I'm going to challenge this is my old cover band used to play it. And when the drum beat starts, it could be hundreds of different songs. However, when the bass line kicks in, doom 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 doom, Escape Club, Wild Wild West from 1988's Wild Wild West. This song is so much fun. It's one of those songs that every time we played it, people in the room would stop in their tracks. It was just an unexpected cover song. And for the first verse, people are going, why do I know this? Where do I know this? And by the end, they're all singing along with it. And then we got to talk about that breakdown in the middle. Is it reggae? Is it rap? I don't know what he's doing in it, but it's just such a snapshot of the 80s where if you did it now, it would be a mockery. But back then, it was just pop music. So I love it. Wild Wild West.
I don't have any Fresh Prince on my list of songs, because if you're going to do something called Wild Wild West and then go with Fresh Prince, that would have been a future connection, if you will, because Wild Wild West is definitely a movie that we'll have to cover at some point. But how to follow that up? Okay. I think I know where to go with this, because there's a few that are really kind of begging to be jumped in here. I think I'm gonna let my Canadian show a little bit on this one. So apologies to anyone who is tired of me pumping up the tires on various Canadian artists, but this one needs to go in here. We had our Canadian answer to Billy Idol in the 80s. His name was Corey Hart. He had the typical Billy Idol-esque dour look and the spiked hair and the, don't smile, don't you dare smile in your videos, and had that swagger. So when you tune on to CBC and Video Hits comes on and they start first song, first album, the album's called First Offense. The song is Sunglasses at Night. And if you heard that song and you didn't try to wear your sunglasses at night and then accidentally walk into a tree, you were doing Canada absolutely wrong. But the song still carries to this day, and it almost kind of reclaimed itself, much in the way that I remember you showing me that acoustic version of a-ha's Take on Me, and how that song kind of matured into that performance, which that is a phenomenal performance. Corey Hart has kind of come back around, and it's like, okay, no, these songs were actually good, and put into that kind of a setting, it would still carry on very well. But trust me when I say Sunglasses at Night may have been played as much as the Canadian anthem when it came out.
Dude, this is literally just an 80s dance party episode at this point. Every single elementary through middle school dance, I remember Sunglasses at Night. And people would put sunglasses on in the gym with the lights going. Yeah, what a vibe that song was. And I think we could finally use it. So far, every one of these songs, it's a bop.
It's definitely a bop. And yeah, when you think about the sunglasses in the gym at the dance, it feels like you're in, Pretty in Pink, or not Breakfast Club because they were all in the library, but one of those teen era type films from the 80s where you knew the cool kid because they were wearing the sunglasses no matter what time of day. It almost felt like that attitude in those films and TV shows came from a song like Sunglasses. And when you listen to the song too, it's not necessarily just a straight pop bop. It's got some atmosphere to it as well.
Most certainly. And I think that's where that Billy Idol-esque connection comes into play, because Billy Idol had the heavier side, but he also had a lot of the pop side. And I think people forget that that was there. And with Corey Hart, I feel like the pop side of what Billy Idol did was more on display, because there was less of the guitars to really kind of make it a gray area between the pop and the heavier side of things.
Oh, absolutely.
So following that up, I'm just going to lean right into this party thing we got going here, because this is all upbeat, all fun, all dancey. And I'm going to go with a song that Blender Magazine listed as one of the 50 worst songs ever. And I have to disagree, because in 1986, not only was everybody having fun tonight, everybody was Wang Chunging tonight. They made Wang Chung a verb. From 1986's Mosaic, I had the 45 and I spun that thing to the point where my parents we're ready to say, okay, that 45 might be getting lost if it keeps if it keeps spinning. I love the song. It's so much fun. Wang Chung is awesome. And any era of Wang Chung that gets put on a worse song, that's just raising your musical snob nose and looking down at it. Because Wang Chung is just such a fun band. I don't see how anybody, even though this one has more pop in it, I don't see where anybody can hate this group as much as Blender Magazine saying the worst of all time. That's really far-fetched, man.
You could argue that it might have been the most overplayed song of that year, but that's about the only knock against the song that you can get. I mean, how many times where there's just like nonsensical lyrics, but you sing along with them because it doesn't matter. And yeah, everyone I'm sure had that, oh, hey, you want a Wang Chung tonight? Because it's literally, it's begging. It's almost like when Def Leppard put out Let's Get Rocked. And like, we know what you're talking about. We know exactly what you're talking about, but it was fun. It was tongue in cheek, and it's a bop. I'm not gonna lie, it's a bop as well. I'm of two minds on this next song. If I want to keep the momentum going for what we've got for this party side, I know what to go with. Or do I want to, like every high school dance, about 6 or 7 songs in, throw in a slow song because that's what you would do at a high school dance? Maybe it's time to slow it down a little bit. Let me paint a picture. It was the 80s, and there were 2 singers, and you were either in one camp or you were in the other. You were either Team Debbie Gibson or you were Team Tiffany. Mm-hmm. I was Team Tiffany.
Yes,
all the
correct.
Way.
Look, I love Debbie Gibson. I love Debbie Gibson. Tiffany was my first ever crush, so... Thank you. I already know the song you picked, but I'll just let you go ahead. I have the album. I don't.
Yeah, long sleeve sweater, red hair, count me in. And again, nothing against Debbie Gibson. I love that Debbie Gibson is almost having like a career resurgence right now. And yes, to tie it back to It's Not That Bad, the very first episode I ever recorded for that show was on Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus. And she's in it. There's actually a movie, and I can't remember which one it was, but Debbie Gibson and Tiffany were both in it, and they had so much fun filming that they actually had like a fight scene between their 2 characters, and it was just so like, this is the 80s brawl for all that we wish we had. Just go out. I think it was like Mega Python versus Gatoroid or something like that. Something absolutely horrible from the asylum, but it gave us that 80s dream match. But no, it could have been.
Yes.
I Think We're Alone Now is probably her biggest song of all time, but could have been as a ballad. And I don't know if it's the reverb on her voice in that recording. I mean, it's a great ballad. And I lost track of the number of slow song mixtapes I made just because I was really into slow songs in the 80s at the time. Although, since we're talking Debbie Gibson here, I have to tell you a story here. I remember one Christmas, I got the first ever 2 cassettes in my collection in that same Christmas. One was definitely me. It was Motley Crue's Shout at the Devil. The other was Debbie Gibson.
Out of the blue?
It was completely out of the blue. And both.
Figuratively and literally.
Yes, but there were still good songs on both. And I think I have even put Foolish Beat and like some slow song off of Shout at the Devil on the same mixtape because, well, they were the 2 tapes that I had. But yeah, you could like everything. It was okay. But no, I was Team Tiffany for sure.
Well, anyone that knows me, including my wife, knows where I stand with this. Now, Tiffany started her mall tour, fun fact, at the Bergen Mall in Paramus, New Jersey in 1987. And my mom didn't take me. So I'm still pissed about that.
Oh, no.
One. Oh, no. Oh, yes. I missed it. And part of it made the video for the damn song. So imagine that. I loved that first album. I actually had 2 songs in my list from the same album. I had I Think We're Alone Now. But then I also, depending on where we went with this, had a deeper cut from the album just to show my Tiffany fandom. The album opening track Should Have Been Me. I thought that was a great song, unapologetically, and I still do. It's still my favorite Tiffany song. I just know most people would have went, what? Because they're thinking that it's going to be, could have been, or I think we're alone now. So you totally scooped me on that. And now that we got that, for me at least, awkward middle school slow dance out of the way, let's pick up the pace a little bit as we're easing back into the end of the side here. And I'm going to go with a song that I feel gets equal amounts of hate as it does love. There is such a divide on this song. So I don't know if this technically would fit guilty pleasure because of the fact that there are so many people that love this song. But the amount of hate this song gets, I feel, is so vocal and so loud that even though it's half the room, it's worth pointing out. And I'm going to go back to 1982 in a song that NPR listed as one of the worst songs of all time. And I'm going to go with Toto's Africa from Toto 4. I am team love with this one. I always have. I've always thought this was a great song. This was a song where, look, my parents listened to Hold the Line. When Africa came out, it was just another song from a band they enjoyed. So to me, it was just continuing down the Toto path. And anybody that could look and say, oh, well, Toto is cheesy, get out of here. I mean, look at the lineup they had at that point. Bobby Kimball on lead vocals, Steve Lukather on guitar, David Peich, Steve Porcaro, David Huntgate, and Jeff Porcaro. Get out of here. Toto is awesome. And then the song also hit a modern divide when Weezer covered it in 2018. Just like when Toto's came out, there was equal amounts of hate and love for Weezer's version, which they didn't deviate. It was a paint-by-numbers cover, slightly downtuned from the original. But besides that, they didn't take any liberties with it. Quiet Drive took liberties with their punk cover of it and turned it into a high-speed punk anthem. So to me, if you want to hear a different version of Africa, that's the one you listen to. But Weezer's was great. And it was just a modern telling of the song. They didn't reimagine it. But again, just as equal amount of love and hate for Toto's Africa in 1982 and in 2018. So to me, this one kind of fits in multiple layers as the guilty pleasure.
It's funny. You mentioned those versions of the song, and I have two saved in my Spotify liked songs collection. Neither of the two versions are ones that you have listed yet.
And there are a lot of versions of Toto's Africa. Way back at the beginning of Tune Styles, Jay Sweet and I did an entire episode dedicated on the sheer amount of Africa covers.
Oh, absolutely. The first one that comes to mind is the one from Chaos Divine. Phenomenal, heavy version of that song. The other one is the only one of these versions that I have actually seen live, and it's from Chris de Burgh, who was actually able to pull that falsetto off, because let's be honest, there are times when a song comes on the radio, and you know it, and you want to sing it, and there's no way you're hitting that note, whether through falsetto or whether you actually have the octave range to do it, because it ain't happening. It's just not happening. Like, that song comes on and the chorus comes up and it's like, no, I'm going to save everyone in the car and just not sing along at this point.
And now Jay and I might need to revisit that Toto Africa episode of Tune Styles, because those are two other versions we didn't even mention on that episode.
But it's a phenomenal song, and I don't see the hate for it at all.
I don't either. And that's again why I say there's no guilt for me with any of these songs. This whole first side has just been one banger after another as far as I'm concerned. There might be a layer of 80s cheese, as my wife would say, on the sandwich we're concocting right now, but that's kind of the beauty of the 80s. It didn't take itself so seriously. There was a lot of synth, and I don't know why people equate synthesizers with cheese. Maybe because it was a product of its time, but these songs were played in constant rotation on the radio, and none of them bothered me.
All right, I'm going to throw a song in there that, you know, you could argue that maybe Africa kind of qualifies Toto as a one-hit wonder if that's the only song you know from them, which in some cases it might actually be. I'm not calling Toto a one-hit wonder by any stretch of the imagination, but for some, it may at least feel like that. I'm going to go with a song that definitely qualifies as a one-hit wonder and did end up on a few guilty pleasures lists that I did see out there while I was doing my research and saying, am I really calling this a guilty pleasure? Because I have zero guilt at all on this one. And this one you would consider a banger as well. And I would love to hear a modern retake on this one. So I'm going to lean on you, and hopefully you know of a cover of Big Countries in a Big Country. That song, I wish I could hear it live. I wish I could see some band do a modern rock kick-ass version of this song, but even the original still has like almost like a galloping beat to it, and I freaking love it.
Well, I can help you, but not the way you're thinking, because you're looking for a hard rock version of it. And I don't think I know a hard rock version of it. However, I do want to tip my hat to my guest on episode 35, one of my favorite jam bands of all time, Jim Laughlin of Mo. Episode 35, the Ultimate Mo playlist. Mo covered In a Big Country for their 2001 album Dither, and I highly suggest you look that version up. To me, I like it more than the original, with zero disrespect to the original. The original was good enough that when I heard Mo's version, I'm like, nice.
This is a song I would love to hear a band, maybe like a Paramore, do a cover of this. Put a little synth behind. Why not? Go for it. Or a band like Against the Current. Great band out of New York. And if you like Paramore, you're going to love Against the Current. They're the kind of band I could see easily doing a fun cover of this one as well.
Agreed. And I get the pleasure of putting the stamp at the end of this side. And I know exactly what I'm going to do, because I don't know how many playlists this could possibly make. And I would love to know, when I name this song, if you're out there listening, what playlists you would put this song on. And keep it clean, people. Be nice to me. But I am going to rickroll the entire audience. 1987, whenever you needed somebody, Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. Rolling Stone ranked it one of the worst songs of the 80s. And I'm sorry, the whole rickroll thing, I think it started off being mean. But then I think because of the rickroll, the younger generation actually started liking the song. And I don't remember people hating this song in the 80s. I just remember it being on the radio a lot, and it's one of those songs that when it was on Z100, it would be in between all the other great hits. 1987 was such an amazing year of music. I vividly remember hearing Never Gonna Give You Up into Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine. 1987 radio, baby. And it worked because that was top 40 at the time. Top 40 it wasn't pigeonholed into one genre. I also remember at one point hearing Skid Row followed by, I want to say Vanilla Ice. Maybe I'm wrong, but artists you normally wouldn't hear back to back. That was top 40 radio in the 80s. And then over time, it got a lot more compartmentalized, where top 40 was very much a singular sound and a singular genre. And that's probably what I love about the 80s so much. It was so varied. It was so open. And Never Gonna Give You Up, yes, it's a rickroll. Everybody has seen that gag. But I think that's what makes the song enduring. The fact that the Foo Fighters brought Rick Astley up on stage to perform it with them in a hard rock version, rickrolling an audience of 20,000 people. The fact that Rick Astley himself can smile at this, because I'll be honest with you, I would love if they Colburn rolled people with one of my songs. Think about the amount of streams this dude is getting from all the Rick rolls. I mean, to me, it's brilliant. Whoever came up with the idea originally, bravo, cheers, kudos to you, slow golf clap on that one. But I love the song. And when I get Rick rolled, I actually let the song play out. That's how bad it is. I don't hate it at all. So closing out side A, Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up.
When this song comes on in the car, and like if the family is doing a drive and going somewhere as a group, my oldest, my teenage son, hates it because everyone else in the car is singing along and dancing, and as much as you can car dance, with the Roxbury head bop that goes along with it, because you're in a car seat, you shouldn't be dancing, especially when you're the one driving. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things where it's just so infectiously happy. It really is. And there were certain songs that, because of the mood of the 80s, you can't help but smile. And I think, yes, it did suffer from overplay. And it was also one of those songs where if you just heard this on the radio and you heard that voice and you're like, okay, cool. And then you see the video for the first time and you're like, oh, Pale Ginger is singing this one. Cool, no problem whatsoever. Didn't expect that at all. But it has. This song has reclaimed its greatness, and everyone is now at that point of they appreciate it. It's kind of like the William Shatner effect, where after, for a section, William Shatner was just like, oh, come on, just don't Shatner all over the place. And now people are like, please, for the love of God, Shatner all over the place. It's fun as hell, and we appreciate it. I think Rick Astley getting on stage with the Foo Fighters, because that video is fun as hell. That moment is literally the moment when Shatner appeared on Saturday Night Live and they did the Star Trek convention sketch, and he's like,
yes,
have you ever kissed a girl? Because I don't think you have. And that moment allowed Shatner to reclaim the cheesiness of his acting and turn it into something different. I think now Rick Astley can sit there and laugh all the way to the bank because people have rediscovered that love.
Completely agree. And I'll be sure to embed the Foo Fighters Rick Astley video over at the episode page on myweeklymixtape.com. But there you have it, folks. Side A of our Ultimate 80s Guilty Pleasures mixtape, which kicked off with Bow Wow Wow's I Want Candy, Starships, We Built This City, Timbuk 3's The Future is Bright, I Gotta Wear Shades, Escape Club's Wild Wild West, Corey Hart's Sunglasses at Night, Wang Chung's Everybody Have Fun Tonight, Tiffany's Could Have Been, Toto's Africa, Big Countries in a Big Country, and Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page. Now, Jason, before we flip this mixtape over to side B, why don't you catch everybody up on what's been happening over at It's Not That Bad and There Can Only Be One.
Well, thank you so much. Hope you guys had fun with March on It's Not That Bad, because we just finished up our Razzies month where we did our grading on a curve, looking at the worst movies of the year, nominees for last year, as well as 4 straight Razzie-themed episodes on Keep Watch Pass. Those episodes come out on Monday, if you do like our Keep Watch Pass format. And of course, our It's Not That Bad comes out on Wednesdays, where we not necessarily just look at films that have a bad rating, but sometimes it's more of a public service that you just listen to us talk about it, and so you don't have to watch it, so you're welcome. And then on There Can Only Be One, you're going to get an episode every Tuesday. On opposite weeks, you're going to get an episode where we take a look at an artist's studio discography and go through album by album, pick only one song off of those albums. And on the opposite weeks, because it takes a while to go through a discography, we have Spin, Shuffle, Skip, where we go through one album and pick 3 songs. One that you would spin, one that you would shuffle, and one that you would definitely hit the skip button on. So that way you have episodes every week. Those always come out on Tuesdays, and they are available wherever you get your podcasts. And trust me when I say, Brian, there are a list of songs and artists and whatnot that we have to go through. I now feel, now that you've expressed your Tiffany love, that we may have to do a Tiffany episode.
I am in. I am all in on that. And the thing is, let me just say, when I think of Tiffany, right now I'm 46 years old. So when I say it now, it comes across as creepy guy gawking over somebody. I was 10 years old when this song came out. So I want people to understand there was an innocence to my crush on Tiffany. And I've always said to my wife, if I meet her, I'm going to tell her she was my first crush. But I don't want it to come across as, you were my first crush. Like, there was a childhood innocence to it. Every time I hear that music, it actually reminds me of when I was 10. And it's a different feeling. It was before life kicked in and everything was different. It seems so much simpler when you were 10 years old.
Oh, when you think of the 80s teenage first crush starter pack, Tiffany is definitely in there, probably along with the likes of Debbie Gibson and Alyssa Milano and
Lita Ford.
There you go. There you go. Like, it is literally in the 80s first crush starter pack.
Well, kicking off side B, I'm going to lean into the Lita Ford side of music. And we're going to go hard rock. I'm not including Lita Ford because A, she doesn't belong here. She's duetted with Ozzy. That immediately discounts. There's zero guilt at all. And nobody's ever included her on a guilty pleasure playlist because Kiss Me Deadly and Close My Eyes Forever are just absolutely amazing tunes. But I'm going to go with a rock song that has been just destroyed over the years, just ridiculed to death, and I've never understood why. Both Rolling Stone and NME included this on their worst songs of the 80s lists, and I really disagree. It starts off their 1986 album of the same name, so it's an album opener, something I love, and being I'm opening the side, let's go with a big anthemic album opener. And let's have Europe's The Final Countdown. You already hear the synthesizer in the beginning, the and then the I mean, the rest of the song rocks. I think that's the part that everybody like clings on. And regardless, I still love it. It was 1986. Synthesizer was in rock. It was in hard rock. Get over it. I love this song. And it's a great side opener. Wasn't it Geico that did a commercial with Europe?
Oh, yeah.
In a way, bringing it back and celebrating it with a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But at the end of the day, the song is still incredible. And Joey Tempest can still hit those notes. And Europe is still awesome. I just love this band. So, yeah, The Final Countdown.
I'll admit you scooped me on the artist because I actually had Carrie on my list from Europe.
There you go.
Admittedly, yes, my wife's name is Carrie. It's spelled differently. Funny story, though. She didn't know that song existed until I played it for her.
Really?
She had no clue that there was a Carrie song.
Huh.
Yeah. Again, this is another one of those songs that it got played everywhere. It still gets played everywhere. Every sports arena, we got the 2-minute warning and it's going to play over the speakers, guaranteed. No question there. And again, it's just stuck around so long that, again, I think people just have Stockholm syndrome. But yes, that keyboard is much like the guitar lick in I Want Candy. I think we've got another side starter that the lead instrument line is the lyric more so than the actual lyrics themselves. I know exactly where I'm going to go with this.
Oh,
and I'm going to
okay.
go with another album opener because not only were songs off this album kind of panned, I get it. The entire band became a joke thanks to Beavis and Butthead. I'm going to go with the debut album and the lead-off track from Winger. I'm going to go with Madeleine.
Yes!
Now, I get it. People are sitting there going, oh, you like Winger, don't you? Winger sucks. And if you don't say something like that in a Beavis and Butthead voice like that, you didn't live in the 90s. But the thing is, Winger are a fantastic band.
Agreed.
Of the first two concerts that I ever saw, the first one my mother brought me to, it was Krista Berg's Man on the Line tour. So Krista Berg, pre-Lady in Red. So the good stuff. The second concert I saw by myself, skipped school, waited in line because I wanted to be right at the front. Kiss's Hot in the Shade tour with opening acts Slaughter and Winger on their In the Heart of the Young album. That concert, and again, I'm a bassist. So to see a bassist also as the lead singer, and then you start to put two and two together because you watch, old Alice Cooper live concert videos and you're like, hey, that's the guy from Winger. And you start to, make the connections there. Kip Winger all of a sudden became like a role model for me as a bassist because he was also the front man. And you didn't see that very often.
Winger is ridiculously underrated. They became the butt of a joke undeservedly. They are an extremely talented band. And yes, I get it. The lyrics to 17, not their finest moment. Let's just leave it at that. But there are other songs that they've put out. Can't Get Enough, Under One Condition. They do a really good cover of Purple Haze on the self-titled Winger album. And then you have Pull, which was a much heavier release. They're still putting out really good music. And Kip Winger did some solo albums that kind of veer a little bit outside of hard rock, and they're all incredible, very talented artists. And I think the Beavis and Butthead joke is where they became the laughing stock undeservedly for the entire hair metal movement. They became kind of the poster child for it for some reason. And I'd say that sucks because they put out some great songs, and Madeleine might be my favorite all-time Winger tune. And again, album opener, so bravo on that. But I'm going to jump on something you said there. It's a tour you saw. Kiss, Hot in the Shade. I'm immediately just going to follow up with Forever. Co-written by Michael Bolton. Kiss fans lost their friggin' mind when this song came out. I remember so many of my friends who were big Kiss fans were furious that Paul Stanley co-wrote with Michael Bolton and went down the quote-unquote AOR style for Kiss. I don't think a lot of people our age, at least at the time, knew that Michael Bolton, and I didn't know this, I only knew How Was I Supposed to Live Without You and all the songs he had on the radio at the time. I had no idea that Everybody's Crazy, which was featured in the party scene in Rodney Dangerfield's Back to School, was a Michael Bolton song. Michael Bolton has a hard rock, quote-unquote, AOR/type album called Everybody's Crazy that came out in 1985, as well as a self-titled album that came out in 1983. And both of those albums are completely different than the album-oriented rock that he did from that point on. I highly suggest giving both albums a listen because they will shock a lot of people. The guy has a great hard rock voice, and he had a hard rock sensibility. I think Forever is a fantastic power ballad. It made one of our power ballad episodes, if you go back, with our good friend Sean Faust. We had the ultimate power ballads of the 80s, parentheses, and some 90s. So I would check out Volume 1 and Volume 2. It's on one of those. I won't say where. I don't want to spoil it. Leave a little bit of suspense in the air. But Forever is a great power ballad. And I think people were just trying to be too macho to admit that Kiss wrote good ballads. I mean, I Still Love You from Creatures of the Night was amazing. I loved Reason to Live from Crazy Nights, which I talked about with Desmond Child on his episode because he co-wrote that with Paul Stanley. So the fact that people were shocked that Kiss was doing ballads when their biggest hit ever was Beth, hello? So yeah, Kiss Forever.
I think they're just having flashbacks from Shandy. But I will say, Forever, not only did you scoop me on the artist, I mean, I was actually going to go with probably Tears Are Falling off the Asylum album, but Bruce Kulick era Kiss is my Kiss. This is when I really first started to get into them. So for me, getting into them in the 80s, and I still remember actually one of the first albums that I listened to because my mother had it on vinyl was Animalize. Yes, I get that's not Bruce Kulick era, but it still led into the Bruce Kulick era. So that is my era of Kiss. And then you kind of work your way backwards. But I don't understand why people would take a look at a song like Forever. Any other artist puts that song out, regardless of whose name is in the writing credits, it's going to play so well. If Poison put that song out, it'd be one of their biggest songs. It actually was my only one when we did the Kiss episode, because this is also the first song I ever learned when I bought my first bass guitar, which I still have that first bass guitar, and I'm doing the math on it now, and that bass guitar is so old and still held together by duct tape and stickers, so bear with me on it.
But isn't that where the beauty lies in a bass like that?
Oh, absolutely. Like, that bass saw so many shows, and the screw on the strap bolt kept on falling out, so there were times when I'd have to drop down to my knees on stage. Like, that bass is a beater like you wouldn't believe. But I remember going out and buying Guitar Magazine, and that song was in it, and that was the first song I learned to play on that bass guitar was Forever.
Well, now you get to follow this up, Gene Simmons, with track 4.
Well, I know exactly where I'm going to go. And I'm going to go kind of in that same vein with a decent band with a lot of synth going on their first album. But I'm going to go with an 80s supergroup, Bad English. And I'm going to go with their song Possession.
Oh, okay.
Now, again, When I See You Smile was their big hit, But to me, Possession is the best song on that album. And again, it's heavy keyboard laden, and you had like a lot of talent in that band. There's zero question that whatsoever there. But that song, again, if you had someone do that song today and replace the keys with some strings, I guarantee you that song would still go over well.
Oh my God, we're talking Jonathan Cain, Neil Schon, and Dean Castronovo from Journey. John Waite. I mean, I love that album. I love Journey. And there was a part of me that had Journey in my back pocket for Don't Stop Believing. But at the end of the day, I felt like, there are way too many people that love that song that I think ever felt guilty about it. I don't believe that was ever a guilty pleasure. Even though some people have put it on their worst songs of the 80s list, I think it's more for the overplayed factor than it is being a bad song. And Bad English, I thought was great. I loved When I See You Smile. I'm actually very surprised you went with Possession. That was one of the singles that it didn't take off quite like When I See You Smile. And that's because it wasn't When I See You Smile 2, Electric Boogaloo.
It's kind of like when Warrant had Heaven, and that song was huge, right? And then, of course, off the same album, they put out Sometimes She Cries, which wasn't Heaven, but it was still a good enough song. Although I will admit the first time I ever saw Warrant in any kind of form was performing, if I remember correctly, when American Gladiators was on TV, there was also a roller derby show that was on the same channel and aired before it that used to have performances on, and Warrant was actually on that show doing Heaven. I still remember that show, but I cannot remember the title of that show. Is that weird?
No, not at all.
American Gladiators was just that big at the time.
Well, I'm going to follow up your Is That Weird question with one of my own. I'm team Sometimes She Cries. I actually like that more than Heaven. And I love both songs. I have no qualms about power ballads. And I will say that Warrant is also on one of those 2 power ballad episodes. I won't say which one to leave some room for error. And I won't say which song made it. But I am team Sometimes She Cries. Man. All right. I'm sticking with The Rock here. And I'm also going to go back to a guest that I had on the show back at episode 25. But I'm going to go back to 1983 and an album that was so divisive for fans. And we talked about this on Side A when Toto's Africa was a little bit of a pivot from Hold the Line. When Starship's We Built This City was a pivot from Jefferson Starship and Jefferson Airplane. I don't know of a musical pivot that really shocked fans the way 1983's Kilroy Was Here did for fans of Styx. And I am going to go with the opening track from that album, Domo Arigato, Mr. Roboto. On episode 25, Lawrence Gowan, who's now the current lead singer of Styx, talks about the song's revival in the band's set lists after many years of even them not playing the song. To me, this was the song that introduced me to Styx. 1983, I was 5 to 6 years old. My parents got the cassette at the time of Kilroy Was Here, and that was the first song I heard. And my dad turned the speakers up really loud, and the synth was swelling, and it was like Star Wars in music to me as a kid. And I just loved it. And it fits that rock side that we're kind of putting together here for Side B. So, Styx, Mr. Roboto.
I'm not going to lie. I love that you had Lawrence Gowan on your show. And I say that not just as a Canadian, because well, I say that as a Canadian, but I mean, songs like Strange Animal and Criminal Mind. Criminal Mind it's the song I wish Krista Berg wrote, but I'm so happy that Gowan wrote it because it was so good. But even a song like Moonlight Desires, like Lawrence Gowan is a phenomenal songwriter. And if you go back and listen to his 80s selection, like his discography, it was so good. So good. And I love the fact that he's still out there and touring and performing. And they're actually doing some Gowan songs in the Styx set list. And I think that's phenomenal. Absolutely. Deservedly so. Deservedly so. And I know exactly where I'm going with this.
Really? It's a no-brainer, huh?
I was no-brainer. Because she blinded me with science. You could put these two on any best of the 80s CDs, and it would feel like it was on the same album. Thomas Dolby, I mean, honestly, if someone says science, just even the word science, tell me you don't want to respond with science with the finger up in the air. And the video was so corny. The song is so corny, but yet it fits so perfectly in this pocket. And people will still be like, yes, by the time the end of the song is there, you're screaming at the radio, science! Guaranteed.
So I guess my only follow-up is, were you blinded by science? Oh, I know that was bad. Sorry.
The only thing that blinded me with science, and it wasn't the experiments, because I didn't blow anything up, allegedly. Just take a look at my marks and you'll see why I'm not a scientist.
There you go. This song was also the pilot theme song to The Big Bang Theory before they switched it to the theme by the Bare Naked Ladies. And I don't think a lot of people even remember that, but I love this song. I don't care that it was cheesy. The 80s gave us great science songs. Between this and Weird Science, I mean, there's a perfect 80s science single for you. But I'm not going to use that as my follow-up. I'm going to follow up with a song that you might actually turn off your camera, log off this, and defriend me on all the social medias, as do everybody listening. My plays might all of a sudden just come to a screeching halt, and everybody unsubscribes at once. But hear me out, please. This song features Glenn Hughes and Pat Thrall, two very, very talented musicians. And Glenn Hughes sings the chorus of this song. And both of them appear in the video, dressed like pagan suspects being interrogated. And that video was the theme song to a movie that could very easily be a Not That Bad episode, 1987's Dragnet. The song, Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks, City of Crime. Tom Hanks is doing his best Beastie Boys impression throughout. He's basically just screaming the words of the song, because in the 80s, Tom Hanks was that was his kind of character and his persona. And Dan Aykroyd was playing the calm, straight Agent Friday. And the music video, fun fact, was directed by Paula Abdul, who a year later would explode onto the music scene with many music videos and the incredible Forever Your Girl album. But I heard this song for the first time. I saw the video on MTV. I begged my parents to take me to see the movie. The movie was not really, it went over my head at 10, 11 years old, but I still went out and got the soundtrack. I have the soundtrack to this day on CD. Unapologetically, I love this song. It's Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks rapping. It did not get a lot of love, but it's one of those songs that I don't know why. As soon as we said we're doing a Guilty Pleasures of the 80s, this was the first song on my list. So I apologize to everybody who's no longer a fan, but I'm sure out there's at least 3 people who are like, yes, oh my God, somebody else knows this song but me. If that's you, email me at myweeklymixtape@gmail.com and let me know that I'm not alone here. Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks, City of Crime.
Guilty pleasure? Well, that's just the facts. Sorry. bad dad jokes. I find it funny because as I was putting my list together, I realized there were a number of actors that put out singles. And I know at some point someone's going to pitch to you the ultimate mixtape of actors who put out singles. And if they don't, I'll just put my hand up and just volunteer for that one. Yes, Dragnet is definitely one of those films that I would absolutely love to do an episode on. I'm pretty darn skippy it qualifies.
Oh, it does. It's 50% on the tomatometer and only 41% on the audience score. That doesn't happen often where the audience score is less.
That is a crime and a travesty all in one. The Virgin Connie Swale deserves so much better than this.
Yes.
Okay. I know exactly where I'm going. I don't know how I know on this, but I'm going to go exactly here. I'm going to stay in this actors with singles out. And probably not the one you think of. because I know there was one mentioned in the earlier shoutouts, but I'm going to go in a completely and utterly different direction. And it's the partnership that actually led to an episode on It's Not That Bad that we did. I'll let you guess.
Oh, crap. It's a partnership. I was going to go with Bruce Willis with his 80s album.
Yep.
I'm right? Okay.
Off of his Return of Bruno album, I'm going to go with his cover of the Staple Singers song, Respect Yourself. So let me explain the partnership here. So the album was produced by Robert Kraft, and no, not that Robert Kraft. If you're a Patriots fan, it's not him. Okay.
Yes.
But Robert Kraft then produced Hudson Hawk, starring Bruce Willis. And that movie is an absolute goofy, fun, hot mess. But the friendship between Bruce Willis's character and Danny Aiello's character in this is apparently based on the friendship between Robert Kraft and Bruce Willis. So the fact that Bruce Willis sounds like he's having a ton of fun on this album makes total sense when you then go and watch Hudson Hawk. So I kind of enjoy that. And it's just goofy fun that someone who at the time was big for being in Moonlighting puts out a covers album, and it's surprisingly not bad at all.
Yeah, there's people that obviously rag on it just for the sake of doing so, and I think that has to do with the novelty factor of it all. I mean, it is an actor putting out an album, so I get that part of it. It's kind of like when the WWE wrestlers sang on that Pile Driver cassette in the 80s. It's kind of along that line. Like, that's not really their role, but what the hell, they're going to do it anyway. I mean, this was rhythm and blues and soul. We're talking, he's covering Booker T. Jones, The Temptations. This was a fun album. You don't need to overthink it sometimes. Was it capitalizing on his popularity at the time? Sure. But at the same token, you had not too many years earlier, the Blues Brothers turn it into a feature-length film and a recording career. So I don't hate it. And yeah, God, I'm stalling here because I'm trying to think of how do I follow that up, because we each only have one song left. And I'm going through my list, and there's not a lot that really fits after Bruce Willis. All right, I'm just going to go with one that Ranker included as one of the worst songs of the 80s. And certainly if it's not thought of by a lot of people as one of the worst songs of the 80s, I will say it will likely be seen as one of the most controversial songs of the 1980s, if not the entire album. And I am going to go back to 1989, right to the end. And we are going to go with the controversial album, Girl You Know It's True. And I'm going to go with Milli Vanilli's Baby Don't Forget My Number. That was the one song on that album where I'm like, I'm not really big into this Milli Vanilli thing, because they were everywhere. They had just number one hit after number one hit after number one hit. This one, I was like, oh, I kind of like this. And I got the cassette single. And I like this song, and I've always liked this song. Mind you, when the videos came on, I was always like, nah, and I switched the channel because I didn't care so much about the dance music at the time. But this song stuck out to me. And then when everything unfolded with the lip sync drama and Milli Vanilli, I think back at that, and I still didn't hate the song, because at the end of the day, I really didn't care who was singing it. I didn't feel duped because, A, I never paid to see them live or like cared what they looked like. I just liked the song because it was a good song. I don't care who was singing it. So when they said, oh, somebody else was actually singing on the tape, I'm like, I don't care. I still like the song. So it's definitely on every list of the most controversial songs of all time, or albums, or events in music history. But to me, when that whole lip syncing thing came down, it went from being these number one hits into a joke that you can only say was a guilty pleasure. But at the end of the day, no matter who was actually singing on the song, it was still a good song sang by a very good singer that the label was just dumb enough not to want to put up front and center, which Blues Traveler then mimicked and mocked in the Runaround video, where John Popper's backstage performing with the other band up in front, kind of that whole situation. But Baby Don't Forget My Number, total 180 from Europe's The Final Countdown here. But I feel like we're closing this mixtape out and I'm leading us in to be able to let side B flip back into Bow Wow Wow's I Want Candy on side A. And yeah, we had to talk Milli Vanilli tonight. We had to.
Oh, you absolutely had to. Like, if you did something 80s guilty pleasure and the words Milli and Vanilli in that order didn't come out of one of our mouths, then we have failed the assignment, much like my science score would blind anybody.
So I have to ask then, which Milli Vanilli song did you have in your bank?
Oh, I had Girl, You Know It's True.
Okay. You went with the title track. All right.
Well, absolutely. But we, up to this point, we have failed. I feel like we've failed your listeners.
Oh, no. Should we start all over?
Well, no. That'll be volume 2. But we have failed your listeners because at no point have we said the words, Rock Me Amadeus.
Falco?
Oh, Falco. And I remember having this vinyl. Now, admittedly, Rock Me Amadeus was the big song and the song that I listened to over and over and over again. And yes, this is the song I'm putting on this cassette. For personal preference, I prefer Genie off of this because I had no idea what they were saying during the verses whatsoever. And I'm just like, okay, I can picture in my head what I think they're saying, but at points it sounds really, really nasty and guttural, and and then all of a sudden the English language chorus comes up and you start singing along, and then the verse comes up and you start mumbling because you have no idea what the hell they're saying. But Rock Me Amadeus, again, very much one of those songs that was just stupid fun. You had no idea what the song was really about, but it played over and over and over again. And everyone on the schoolyard, you got the Rock Me Amadeus, like guaranteed it was in the lexicon. Absolutely. I'm just glad it wasn't in the actual movie Amadeus.
Look, I love this song. I had that on my list, totally scooped me. And I got to give a shout out to the Bloodhound Gang. Yes, the Bloodhound Gang. In 1999 on the Hooray for Boobies album. This was a hit album. This was the album with the bad touch on it. So they had a song called Mope, and it was basically a song that was dedicated to Falco with the sample of Rock Me Amadeus in it. I love this song. I love the original. I also had Tacos Putting on the Ritz, which kind of came from that same vein as Rock Me Amadeus. Those two go really well back to back together. But what a way to end side B, which kicked off with Europe's The Final Countdown, Winger's Madeleine, Kisses Forever, Bad English's Possession, Styx, Mr. Roboto, Thomas Dolby's She Blinded Me with Science, Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks' City of Crime, Bruce Willis's Respect Yourself, Milli Vanilli's Baby Don't Forget My Number, and Falco's Rock Me Amadeus. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page. Now, Jason, I do want to apologize to the Patreon mixtapers. We did not get to the songs they included. However, I feel like this has volume 2 written all over it, so stay tuned because there's a lot more we have yet to scratch the surface here.
Oh, I have a list of songs here where I was hoping there were ones where I was just like, please go down this road so I can throw this song in. We didn't get to there, but I got back up for a volume 2. And I'm sure that if KTEL Records ever decided to have a resurgence, they should be calling us up right now for the rights to this mixtape.
Amen. 100%. Jason, why don't you remind listeners where they can connect with you on social media, as well as check out It's Not That Bad and There Can Only Be One?
Well, if you're a movie fan, you can find us on social media at Not That Badcast. And if you're a music fan, you can find us at Only One Cast. But if you like your one-stop shopping approach, you can go to our website at notthatbadcast.com. And while you're there, you can also check out our Coming Soon page, where you can see all of the episodes that we are scheduled to record and chime in with your thoughts so we can shout you out in the show, just like Brian does with all of you listeners. So, be cool. Like the listeners that we heard from the beginning of this episode, chime in. We all love to hear from you guys.
Jason, as always, it's such a pleasure having you on the show and looking forward to our next collaboration, man.
Oh, always a pleasure and always up for anything.
Remember, you can find My Weekly Mixtape on almost all the social media haunts at My Weekly Mixtape. You can also head to myweeklymixtape.com to check out the full catalog of My Weekly Mixtape episodes. And finally, if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend or multiple friends, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/My Weekly Mixtape. That's all for this week. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, enjoy the tunes.